Hey, Steve has a sick kid today. So once again, it is just me and my friend Joey here.
Yo, what's happening? I'm struggling to open my beer. There we go. And now
Struggling's the
there's
name of the
biscuits
game
everywhere.
today. Struggling the
It's
name is the name of the game today, right?
struggling is what I was known for a bit.
So it's been a day. Like today was set up to be such a good day for me. Like everything was right at the start. I finally finished the new Ramble Pack video last night. Everything's in the can. I just had to upload it. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to wait until the morning because this is a long video. It's going to take a while to upload. So I start to upload in the morning. And as expected, it takes a while. By somewhere around 1 p.m. ish, it starts, it's done uploading, but then it's got to process. Like for some reason, it's like, okay, we've got yourself set for standard definition. Now we got to process for 8 high definition, even though I'm uploading it at 720p. So it should already be high definition. Um, but you get the upload, it has to process, and it's processing, and it's processing.
Oh no.
And it doesn't take long to get to 99% processing. And this is not the first time this has happened to me. Because I have
Oh
opened
no.
a secondary channel where I created, where I'm now hosting the podcast videos. Like I'll host on Twitch still. That's where I'll create them as a highlight and everything and download. But I'm kind of focused more on posting them to YouTube. But this has been really bad. I started doing a Google search after a while and tried their little feedback trick. I even tagged Team YouTube on Twitter. They did respond, but
Really?
basically it's after 8 p.m. and this has been at 99% for like I would guess at most 6 hours or at the least 6 hours now. And video processing is still taking longer than usual. This
Oh
video
no.
was supposed to be up today, and somehow YouTube prevented me from having a video hosted on YouTube. And this is like just this is so demoralizing in its own way. I was supposed to have a YouTube video up, but it's not. So hopefully tomorrow or Saturday, I can have this new stinking episode of Darksiders up. Um, because man, it's like it's like it's been a long time. I've not had any uploads. I've been working on this for the past few months, and I was so glad to be done with it. I was so glad to have it in the can. I was so glad for it to be finished. And here it is. It's like YouTube, like that 1%, it refuses to process to the
Yeah.
point that if it weren't for the fact that the upload itself takes so long, I would just like end it now, delete it forever, and start all over again. But I'm going to wait till tomorrow and see what happens. But, and of course, there's a whole bunch of like advice for like, oh, here's how you can quick this up. And most of it doesn't make any sense. It's like update, make sure your browser's updated, clear your cache, clear this, clear that. And it's like,
But
except it's
that's on
supposed to
your
be
end.
on their end.
Right.
The processing's on their server. It's already up, and that's the thing. Like even Team YouTube, it was like, "Have you checked this for uploads that are taking long?" It's like, no, it's uploaded. It doesn't get to the
Yeah.
processing until it's uploaded. The upload is done. That's not the problem.
It's got to be that quote unquote human reviewer.
Oh gosh, I've wondered about that. I've actually wondered about like that kind of a thing. Like if it's like whatever bot they have scrubbing it for copyrighted material. Like, is that what takes up so long, so much time? But I don't know, man. Um, but yeah, that was like number one thing. The state of play was supposed to be good, and we'll get to that in a little bit.
Oh man.
The state of play was supposed to be good, and then a couple other things that kind of just dragged the day down. But then, like as I grab my bottle of Screwball, my whiskey for the podcast, and I start to pour, and I notice that the it's looking a little weird. So I hold the bottle up to the light, and it's got like particles. I don't know how to describe it. Like I really don't. It's like something got in the bottle somehow,
Got some
contaminated,
fiberglass in it.
mixed it. No, God, no. It's like, and again, like as I told you, it's like it's not like I like took a swig from the bottle and sealed it back up. So it's not like my mouth germs cultivating. So I had to get rid of the rest of that, which is always a shame because I love Screwball. And I have a half a glass, not even half a glass. Well, granted, this is a huge glass. I got this Yeti cup. I don't even know who got it for me. I think my old man got this Yeti cup because he's Mr. Outdoorsman. It keeps
Is that
like,
the one you brought to Magfest?
it might be where it keeps everything cold inside.
Yeah, I actually have a Yeti thermos right next to me, and I put water in it all the time, and it keeps it cold for hours.
But yeah, it's really big. So it's like what you would normally fill a glass of whiskey. This can hold like I fill it like 3 times that, so probably more than I really ought to. Um, which is funny because I'm like, yeah, I only have one glass, but I never get fully drunk, and it's true. I usually don't get fully drunk, but that might actually be a very bad thing for in hindsight. Um, but yeah, this isn't even halfway full
Clarity is coming in.
of yeah. This isn't even halfway full of Southern Tier Pumpkin, which I've had since October, and I checked that, no particles in that. But
I would say November because you picked that up. Wait, no.
no, I would have gotten it after we did. No, you're right. You're right. You're right. I would have picked it up after we did
Struggle Mania.
Extra Life. Yeah, because that's where I first had Southern Tier, and it was on my radar. I wouldn't have been looking for Southern Tier if it weren't for that trip, and I would not
See,
have.
I've had the beer version of pumpkin, and I don't really care for pumpkin stuff. Well, pumpkin spice stuff, but this is actually like it's got actual pumpkin in the brewing process, like the actual vegetable. And so it's quite different, and I enjoy the
Gourd.
beer. The what?
Gourd.
Yeah, the gourd. There we go.
Which
Yeah,
I
they
don't
actually
know.
brew it with the actual gourd, and so it's got a very distinct flavor. I'm assuming they do something similar with the whiskey.
Oh
Warlock,
yeah.
however, the Warlock beer that Southern Tier does is phenomenal. Um, and that's a stout, and then they have the creme brulee stout, and that's where I'll leave it
My
to
pastor
get
would
back
not.
on task.
My pastor would not be very happy with me right now. He is very not about alcohol. He's got reasons though. He's got good reasons.
I mean, that's fair. Honestly, when people say that they don't drink, I'm like, good. That's a great thing.
No, especially, and I was talking to a buddy of mine. I think because yeah, I mean, actually, most of the time that you knew me, like I went most of my life not drinking, and then well after legal age, I got drunk for the first time. And being a man of little security and little self esteem, I relied on being drunk to make me likable and cool, and it didn't work. I thought
It
it was
doesn't work.
working, but it didn't work. And a very intimate drunken night with my buddy's toilet on New Year's was the last time I really got blitzed. So yeah, don't get blitzed, people. If you stay away from alcohol, it's actually not a bad idea.
Yeah, yeah.
But
My
yeah,
mom had an interesting night that was very similar. And fun. She hasn't been able to have a drink since. Actually, like legit.
yeah,
And ironically, the beer that got her to this point was called Wake Up Call.
perfect.
I can't tell that whole story on stream. I'm not going to.
You
But
don't have to.
oh my god.
It's not your story to tell. So,
I mean, it
um,
is just not on the podcast. I'll tell it.
oh my goodness. But yeah, let's so yeah, I don't have my drink of choice, but no, here we are. Oh, and also just even Steve's getting in on the negative action because he was all like, "Yeah, I'll be good for tonight. In fact, I'll be good to start at 8 because usually we can't start till 8:30 because of his kids and stuff." No, his family's just perpetually sick. Someone in his house has to be sick at any point in time.
It's the kids, man. Kids are walking petri dishes, unfortunately. So it's
Petri
it's gonna
sacks,
happen.
walking Petri sacks on 2 legs.
Yeah, they're sentient they're sentient petri dishes.
No, they're petri gourds. That's what they are. But all right, so let's backtrack now to the big bit of, and again, we're going off the cuff this stream. We're going off the cuff this podcast because we started planning, and the thing is, I don't think any of us has really been. We haven't been playing enough stuff to really like schedule a. This is what we're going to be talking about. So, and that's
I
why we're
mean,
kind
unless
of
you want
just
to talk about a
already.
lot of Metroid Prime, because I could do that. But
We'll see where the night takes us.
yeah, yeah, well, we're flying with the seat of our pants,
I'll
guys.
see where
No
the
seat
pumpkin
belts,
leads.
all gas, no brakes.
Um, but no. So state of play, right? And this is the thing that I had at the back of my mind. I was like, Sony had to be paying attention to first Microsoft's Developer Direct, right? Where they laid out, here's a bunch of first party games that we're going to be releasing, mostly before the first half of the year. And then Forza, I think, is in the latter half. And Forza's their big racing thing. If they have a direct competitor do anything Sony, Forza is the competitor to Gran Turismo.
Yeah,
So they had Redfall out there, which got generally
that's
positive.
okay.
They had their Minecraft game, which more people were interested in after seeing it being played on that. They had what else did they have? Because the thing is, what overshadowed everything was the shadow drop of Hi-Fi Rush, and
Dude, yeah,
for the week, they not only dominated, but certain corners of the internet were Forspoken versus Hi-Fi Rush, and Forspoken was for the consoles the big Sony exclusive, and both were available on PC.
yep,
And Hi-Fi Rush, despite being half the price, if not a little more than half, or a little less than half rather, made more revenue than Forspoken on Steam. So it's like,
yeah. And Hi-Fi Rush
dang.
was on Game Pass, like, so it wasn't even like I don't. I guess you probably can't really easily figure in the Game Pass revenue like into that.
Or Game
Like,
Pass players, yeah. It's
yeah,
this game was like, so Microsoft managed to start 2023 off with a bang and a really good positive note. They started to kind of hurt themselves with like, oh, Redfall is always online even if it's single player. That won't matter in the long run because people are
yeah,
still gonna buy it and play it and Game Pass it. But it's one of those things that's like, oh come on, guys, really? Like you made it to be played single player. Why does it always need to be online, even if you're single player? Like, dude, I could. So even if you want to talk opt in, opt out, right? Elden Ring is a perfect example from software in
yep,
general because they have online mode, but then they also have offline mode, and you can play offline mode offline.
yeah.
It's great. Like I don't
It's
need to be connected. I mean, I don't get the the benefits of online. I don't get all the messages people leave. I don't get the ability to just summon
right.
someone in co-op. I don't get the ability to get invaded. But
Yeah,
at the same time, I just okay. I don't have internet, so I just keep playing the game.
yeah, and also like, you just go into like to offline mode when you get to the Nightmare Frontier and the Nightmare of Mensis, because why? Well, I mean, we know why, but oh my lord, yeah,
Yeah,
it's
but that's
I totally get you on that because like I think Redfall is going to be an interesting game because it to me it's looking like something I actually want to play from these guys. What is it, Arcane Studios?
yes.
Yeah, okay, yeah, like because I thought I thought oh my god whatever that game was that their first game was okay.
Their first game was like Heroes of Might and Magic or so. No, it was some kind of a Might and Magic game.
Well,
That might
not
not
that
have
one.
even been their first game. Yeah, before Dishonored though. Dishonored is what
Dishonored. There
got
we go. I was
every
thinking of Dishonored.
Dishonored is what got everyone to pay attention to them.
Right. Yeah, and I thought Dishonored, especially because like it had the pedigree of like ex devs of like Valve that did like Half Life, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. This
Are you
could be
sure? I thought
interesting.
it had like X. Looking Glass stuff. It might have had a amalgamation. Um,
I remember them saying specifically it had like Half-Life devs on it, and I can kind of see it.
you would be able to see it in some of the environments. Yeah, I could tell. I could see
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
and it like I thought the game was interesting, but I hated the way it started because it's like, oh, like it's a stealth game and you can do all of these different things, and but no, it would still railroad you because you didn't have a lot of abilities. Like, so I thought that was kind of lame, and I never like I have two copies of the game. Like I have it on the 360, and then a friend was like, "Yo, I have like an extra code for PS4," and I'm like, "Okay, I'll try it out." And it's literally the same game. They didn't like even up the frame rate or enhance the lighting or anything. They did nothing to it,
And now you
and I
can
was like,
download
"Okay,
it on Game Pass.
yay! I can get it again." Um, and I thought it was okay. Like it had potential, but I just couldn't be effed. Um,
I liked
and
the
I tried
first
out
one
Deathloop.
better, oddly enough.
I think that's what a lot of people say, and seeing as how I didn't really care for the first one, I don't think I'm gonna enjoy the follow-ups. But I did play Deathloop for a little bit, and Deathloop is neat, but it still has that same. I don't know. I'm not fully gripped by it, and oh my god, the characters talk too much. Um, and Redfall, on the other hand, I like what they're doing with that world, and I think it's going to be more interesting to actually play. So I'm interested.
It's funny that
So,
the one you don't mention is Prey, which for
oh yeah, I
me,
forgot about Prey.
because I love the opening of Prey. I really do because I remember playing that demo, and I've played some of it on Game Pass because one of the last things that Seamus Young did was a series on Prey, and I wanted to be able to play along with it. But me and immersive sims, man, I can't even go back and really play the original BioShock anymore because I just can't do the combat. I've somehow gotten like back in the mid 2000s, I was fine with not great combat, but
Hmm.
now it's like you got to be like and it
See,
does
I want to try Bioshock on PC.
but
Um,
Prey's got interesting stuff going on because um firstly the opening, like it's one of those like holy crap, these people understand how to do storytelling as part of the medium. And what I'll say, like one of my favorite aspects of the tutorial levels, and it always has been, like this is what had me sold on the demo, that I was like this is going to be a great game, was you know how in a tutorial they always ask you to do the most basic things and the NPCs are always like, "Oh, that's wonderful. You did such a great job. I can tell you're a pro." And they're not
yeah.
sarcastic at all. This game, it's like, all right, now find a space in this room to hide. And the only thing is a chair. So you're like, okay. And you crouch down, you hide behind a chair. And the scientists that are asking you to do these things, to do these tasks, you hear the one guy is like, is he serious right now? He's just like, Doctor, you're on the intercom. Oh, good job, good job. And I'm like, oh, this is great. They're playing with expectations in a video game. But it's also because like it's setting up that there's something weird going on, that you're supposed to be doing something different. And yeah, you find out a whole lot of stuff later on. I'm actually not going to get into it
Yeah.
because I'm trying to
Prey
remember
is
what
cool in
isn't a
concept.
spoiler, but no, it's and there's other stuff too. Like you get the glue gun. I hate the glue gun as a weapon. It's awful. Everything about it's awful. But you can break the game in ways that it's not actually breaking the game, because it does what an immersive sim should do, which is provide options. And it's like,
Yeah.
okay, I know I should be able to go from one place to another. So I just actually like just randomly messing around was like, oh, I can go up there, except I need, a way up there. So I use the glue gun to create stairs. I went up there, and next thing you knew, I'm like, oh, wait, no. I can use this method to sneak into that room instead of having to hack the door or do this or do that. It's like, oh, this game is giving me options that I can figure out on my own. So Prey does a lot of stuff well, but I hate that combat. And if I hate the combat, I'm just at this point not going to be able to get through it, even if that's not the point of the game.
Yeah,
So
I combat is I mean we learned that with Scorn, you know, like Scorn, I'm
Somehow I managed to get through that though.
I know, and I'm like, why? Because dude, when the combat came in, and God, it was awful.
You know what
But
it was? Enemies would de-aggro after a while, and you could run away from them. Then again, okay, they sort of de-aggroed after a while.
they sort of do. Like they can
Mm,
still snipe you.
yeah.
But anyway, the Xbox presentation. Because like, what else was big that was there?
I feel like there's one more thing that I'm missing. I know Starfield wasn't there. Everyone's expecting Starfield to get its own presentation, but
Yeah, it
Starfield
probably is.
Starfield is definitely their big first half of pardon me, first half of the year game. And
I think it
that's
was
the
mainly
thing.
Forza, Hi-Fi Rush, and Redfall. I think those were the big ones. Um, there was indeed something else.
Minecraft, Forza, Redfall, Hi-Fi Rush.
Yeah, that was it. That was it. I
I feel
think
like
that was it.
no, they had four things that they said they were going to. Was it four things or was it only the three?
It was four things, and then they were like, "Yo, Hi-Fi Rush though."
All right. Which okay,
Like,
again, bad news from today. Shinji Mikami's leaving Tango Gameworks. Why? Where's he going? He hasn't addressed it yet. I don't know what he's doing
Capcom.
now. Actually, my guess would be Bokeh Game Studios, who are making Slitterhead. That's got
Oh, okay.
the former Silent Hill guy. It's got um, former Silent Hill and Gravity Rush and other things guy. That's
Oh,
that's the most wonderful thing. The guy that created Silent Hill is also the guy that created Gravity Rush. I
I didn't know that.
I love how Japanese game devs could just be like that. I love how it's like, oh man,
Because we
everyone
got
knows you for this, and it's like, ah, yeah. By the way, have you played my game Gravity Rush? It's like, wait, that was you? No wonder the combat was terrible. I mean,
Oh, dude, yeah, Gravity. I do love Gravity Rush, but I also hate it.
I couldn't
Like,
finish Gravity Rush 2 because of the combat, and they were trying to do more with it. It's like, no, you guys needed to just streamline what you had. You needed to polish up what you had. You didn't need to make it more complex because now
honestly,
you've made it worse.
I got real upset with Gravity Rush 2 when I fired it up and I got like the DLC costumes because they were free, and one of them was a Phantasy Star Online 2 costume, and I was like, "Are you kidding me? Can't even play this!"
You can
I was
now.
so mad. I was so mad at that, and that just like kind of set the tone for the game because I think it's beautiful, but
Oh, it is.
the combat is so tedious, and
Yeah.
it's rough.
Very awkward, yeah.
There were other things they could have done.
It's so much about that game is great, and yet the combat is so incapable of getting beyond the jank. Um,
Yeah.
I have a feeling Shinji Mikami might join that studio. He might form a new studio. He might have been bought by Tencent or NetEase. There's a slim
Oh.
chance he's retiring, but that doesn't sound right to me given interviews. What I've seen in interviews, and he even did a video. Was it last year or was it recently? We're getting like because the Bucket Game Studios did a have a bunch of videos on their YouTube where they just sit down with other game developers. They had one with Hideaki Itsuno from Capcom where they just sat down and started
Nice,
chatting
nice.
about games. And I think this was shortly after the Dragon's Dogma 2 announcement. And then, they have one of him sitting down and talking with Shinji Mikami. And they just talked about making games and stuff. And it sounds like Shinji Mikami's the kind of guy that is like he'll have to die in order to retire because he seems like he really likes what he's doing. But
Yeah.
um that's where it's like, okay, so you formed this studio. Why are you leaving? Do you not like being beholden to anyone or something? Is like there's and it's especially like this crappy thing to do when Microsoft is or okay, crappy thing to happen when Microsoft's trying to really appeal to the person, like I think they're not trying to appeal to Japan so much as the person that likes Japanese made video games. Because at this
Yeah.
point, Japan's a lost cause.
Yeah, that like
But
Japan is dude, Nintendo took their market, which is wild to think about.
well, it's not even just that because even when it comes to the up to date console market, Sony still dominates. And this is this is the funny thing, because too, if we get into the now ongoing defense that Microsoft is launching against the EU when it comes to the Activision acquisition, it's thinking Sony has like 60% of the market share or something like that. Like Sony's got this outrageous market share of the console market compared to Microsoft, and it's like,
Yeah, they do.
man, it's like Microsoft was in such a good spot with the Xbox 360, and the PS3 managed to turn it around enough that, and then the Xbox One launch, man, like Microsoft they had a good position, and now it's like they can't recover because
Who was
Sony's
their old like head of marketing?
at which point?
Like at the beginning. Well,
Oh
like at the
goodness.
end of the 360 era and the beginning of the Xbox One era.
The end of the. Oh, I think it was still was it still Don Matrick by that point?
Yes, that's his name, Don Matrick.
EA guy,
Because
yeah.
yeah, because he was the guy who was like, well, when it comes to backwards compatibility, our solution for that is the Xbox 360. Like he actually said that in an interview, and I'm just like, you could have just said that we don't that it doesn't support backwards compatibility. You could have just said that rather than tell people to buy another console.
Bad move.
And then bundled like there's the whole Connect debacle,
Oh
and
yeah.
they forced that on everyone, and it had to be connected. The console had to be online as well in order for you to even run games on it. Also, $500. Like,
Yeah, that's the thing. It's so amazing how a quick change in leadership is enough to induce such short memory. It's like,
yeah,
guys, Sony already made this mistake. Let's not make it again. No, you see, the
yeah,
Kinect's going to
dude.
be like the Wii. The Wii was $250. Don't
Was
be
it 250? I thought
stupid.
it was less.
It was 250.
Okay. I mean, no, you know what? That's right. Because I remember her getting a Wii, and like I don't remember what my first game was. No, wait. My parents bought the Wii, and it was initially for me, and then like, oh well, your stepdad likes golf, so we're gonna keep it. And I'm like, oh cool, thanks, appreciate it. I still got Mario's Galaxy anyway. and then I got Smash Brothers, which Brawl came out like right like when I was on spring break, and it was like right before my birthday. It was perfect. I was happy.
That is good
Uh,
timing there. That's great timing. I,
but
s- that's the thing though. Like it's we could go into reminiscence lane too.
Yeah,
Um,
we could, but I think we should
we should back.
roast the state of play.
Well, we didn't even talk about the Nintendo Direct, which had a
Oh yeah,
lot
we
of
haven't.
stuff in there. Had a lot of stuff. Now the thing is, like most of what was in the Nintendo Direct didn't light my fire either, but it had a
Right.
lot of different kinds of stuff at least, and a lot of stuff that looked cool. Like you had all these level 5 games, right? It's like, okay, we got neat JRPGs in here. We got a whole
Yep.
bunch of neat little other things. We got games I don't care about. And then Metroid Prime Remastered.
Dude, I marked out so hard when that happened. Like, dude, there were a bunch of like game reviewers and game news things that I follow on YouTube, like Game Explain and Good Vibes Gaming. Like they all lost their collective minds when Metroid Prime Remastered was announced, and then Shadow dropped. Like bonkers, man.
I was
I was so happy.
This is the problem with keeping up with leaks, because I wasn't entirely surprised, but I was surprised it looked as good as it did.
I have like because like
This is, you
I've
know
I've
what? You know
heard
what? No,
about
no, no, no,
leaks.
no.
I've been
No, no, no.
avoiding them.
So here's the thing that gets me too. Again, it's like, how did Nintendo dominate the conversation and then compare to get my trash can was very loud right there. How does how does like Nintendo, like, again, let's do a comparison here, because we had the drop of Hi-Fi Rush, which is
Hmm.
antithetical to what Forspoken is,
Yep.
and is $30 instead of 70, and it's loving it. It's just buzz everywhere. And
Yeah.
then Nintendo comes around, and I was right. The $40 price point for Metroid Prime Remastered, and I was like, it's going to be a little too much, but whatever. I mean, I'll still buy it. And then it's like you play it, and it's like, holy crap, this is really, really like a solid effort of a port. Like the
Yeah.
controls are improved, and the visuals. And that's the thing, though, $40, not even the price of a full game. Last of Us Part One,
Ooh.
$70, and
Ooh.
not nearly of a visual upgrade.
Yeah.
Right? Like, let's
Like
really
in order to
compare.
see the difference, you have to make a side by side comparison. Like that's the only way you see the differences.
And
Because
Metroid
otherwise,
Prime Remastered, that's the thing. Metroid Prime Remastered is going to look a little better than you remember until you look at the
yeah,
side by side comparison, and then you're like, holy crap.
yeah.
Because that's
I
the
mean,
thing. Like, oh my
so I was
goodness.
playing it recent. I was playing the original recently on stream, which I was also a little miffed about because I was like, "Oh my god, it's happening! It's out! Crap, it's out!" I either have to restart my playthrough on stream or whatever. So I just canned it for the time being.
From one retro to another retro.
Yep. So I did do that, didn't I? Huh.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, like I've been playing the. Granted, it was emulated, so it had some enhancements built into it. But um, I would argue with that, I was more able to see like the cracks in the design and the visuals for the original GameCube game, and I still think it looks absolutely fantastic. Control wise, obviously, it does not hold up. So what the biggest thing about this remake, honestly, to me, is the control upgrades and the control options. Being able to control the game like a traditional first person shooter, or like a modern first person shooter, completely changes the way I approach everything about that game now. Like
The only
the
issue,
movement and platforming is different.
the
And
only issue, because the funny thing is, in a lot of ways, it's still like the new controls feel natural because I
mhm,
still use the lock on. So if you played the game before, you'll still use the lock on and it'll feel right with muscle memory. But with a twin stick aiming, oh, it makes so much easier because you don't have to lock on to everything. You
yeah,
can do so much without locking on and just explore exploration and yeah, platforming, dude. Oh my goodness, it is so good an experience. And again, $40. They didn't even sell it
yep.
for a full 60. And again,
And
like
dude, that visual upgrade. Oh my god, dude.
it's like you want to like, so we've got like two comparisons on each side between Microsoft, Nintendo, and Sony, and this was the first showing of 2023. So and we know Nintendo's got more stuff. Like Microsoft's had the one thing that Microsoft has going against it compared to everyone else is they've had over a year on the market with Xbox Series X, and they've only had Halo Infinite. Yeah, they had Psychonauts 2. Yeah, they had some other stuff. Firstly, all of it's also on Xbox One. So they didn't have anything that was really Series X exclusive.
I think
And
Forza Horizon 5 is Series X and S exclusive.
oh,
Um,
it's going to be no. I mean, I'm pretty sure Hi-Fi. No, wait, is Hi-Fi Rush on Xbox One? Yes, it is. Hi-Fi Rush is both, but Redfall is going to be Series X exclusive, Series X and S exclusive. The new
the
Forza
new
is going to
Forza.
be. Um, my window's open, so forgive me if you hear stuff outside. Um, there's going to be all kinds of stuff that's but like this year they're not only getting Series X exclusive, but we're finally seeing okay, you don't have we're not starved for first party big games this year. What comes after Starfield other than Forza, we don't know yet. And that's where again we have speculation, but Microsoft spreading out their calendar.
Yeah.
Sony, from what I can tell, and again, like Nintendo, we also know they've clearly got up their sleeve, later this
Yep.
year. We're definitely going to be
It's like they
getting.
intentionally didn't announce like any like because I remember hearing there was like a rumor going around saying like, oh, Nintendo doesn't really have any heavy hitters this year, and I'm like, no, they probably do. They're just not announced yet.
Well,
Because
it also depends on what you consider heavy hitter, because a lot of typical gamers
right,
keeping up will look at Mario Brothers and be like, it's another Mario game, and it's like, dude, These games sell. Like
Yeah, they
if
do.
they announce new Super Mario Brothers Switch, then it's gonna be a heavy hitter.
Even if it's just like the same engine as New Super Mario Brothers U, and just a whole new set of levels with like
It
barely any new mechanics, it will still sell.
it would be, and it would sell. They'll have
Yep.
one new gimmick.
And
Um,
they get me every time. Like you remember the 3DS one, Mario Brothers, New Super Mario Brothers 2? It's like, oh, you got all the Tanuki suits back, and oh, there's coins everywhere. That's it. Those are the gimmicks. I still bought it.
oh,
I
that's
still
right.
bought it.
You come up, yeah. You have the super like gold coin thing where, yeah. Okay, I remember.
Yep.
I remember
Which,
gold
by the
coins
way,
everywhere.
I came to the conclusion that game was like a server stress test for Nintendo, because that was like right before the Nintendo Network dropped. Um, and they had this thing where they would count all the coins from all the users that were connected to the internet on the 3DS
Huh?
if they were playing that game. So like it would give you a worldwide count whenever you logged in. It was kind of neat.
Interesting.
Um, yeah, but I digress.
Because yeah,
Just
again,
I have to note I will always simp for Mario because I can't help it. I was born on March 10th. It's Mario Day. I was born to do this.
so we're going into the state of play, and again, like part of me is like, is Sony going to, and especially because these actually do have like long planning times, stuff gets set in stone and everything, but it's like, is Sony like, what is Sony going to do to try and counter what Nintendo and Microsoft have done? I
Yeah,
don't expect them to just have something ready to shadow drop, right? Not everyone is going to have that. You can't like prepare a shadow drop that quick.
nah,
But do they have something? And
no.
even their PSVR games, man, even their PSVR 2 games, it's like this is what you got?
Yeah,
Did you
it
blow
was
your load already? Like this is all
dude,
to
it was. I mean, what do you mean? Goodbye Volcano High looks so great,
gosh, life is strange but for scalies.
dude. All right, I need to put out there because I
I
think
don't know, should we put out there?
no, I'm gonna put it out there because I want to give them something. Goodbye Volcano High, I think would have been a good like cartoon on like Teen Nick or something. It barely like as a visual novel, which it presents itself as sometimes. Bro, there's way better out there. Go play Phoenix Wright, and it's also a rhythm game. Since when?
Well, it's even here's the thing, because this also got delayed to make major changes. Who knows what they are?
I think it was
Um,
to add the rhythm game stuff because that was not showcased before ever.
but the thing about the game is, aside from it's not in our wheelhouse, that's for sure. Um, it's what if you knew extinction? Like basically, it's like the end of high school is also literally the end of the world. Like, okay,
Yeah,
I'm trying to
like
figure out if this is an interesting take or because that's the thing. Like, dude, I'm sick of anime being in high school. Like, and this is something that I know like other people have pointed out. Like all of these like all the different like animated shows for the past decade and stuff, like people keep going back to prom. D&D Magic the Gathering crossover went back to prom. They have like an adventure
oh,
or
that's funny.
something that's like, oh, it's a fancy dance at the magic school, and it's like, no, man, I don't care about. I want to kill
This
things. I want
reeks
to fight dragons. Not go to prom. It's, dude.
this reeks
It's
of peaked in high school, so they're trying to relive it.
which is funny because usually the geeks weren't the ones that peaked in high school, and yet this is what I talk about. Like this stuff ain't what it used to be. This stuff is not like the problem with tying the definition of geek and nerd to properties and brands instead of a general idea of things. But that's, I mean, like, again, it's like look again. I'm reading
That's a
Ringworld, right?
dissertation for another day.
That is. I'm also reading Ringworld Engineers, which is like I'm reading this, and it's not only like one of the books where you can see how it inspired Halo. you could see how it might have been an inspiration to the original writers of Mass Effect.
Oh yeah, I remember you saying that.
But this is the thing, like, even though because it was started in like the 70s and stuff, and therefore free love movement and a bunch of horny sci-fi writers are trying to figure out how you can make sex work. It's also like this over my head stuff about like, I mean, how to make a Dyson sphere that's not a sphere but a ring around a sun work with living creatures on it, and distortion in time and technology and propulsor jets and like actual like mathematical calculations going in, theoretical physics, theoretical astronomy, theoretical, like, all kinds of stuff, big ideas, thinking about alien races in all kinds of crazy ways. Like, you can see how an alien race in this might have been a major inspiration for Moradin species, the Solarians, in Mass Effect.
Oh,
But
that's dope. Honestly.
how would I describe most Mass Effect players and fans today? That's an alien. Can I have sex with it? And that's the thing. Yeah, there's that
Based.
aspect. There's that not based. There's that aspect in this book, but it's like that's where it stops for Mass Effect fandom. Like that's the whole of it.
I mean,
That
yeah,
is the entirety of, and that's why inevitably this story became crap until Mass Effect Andromeda happened. And you
somewhere
only
East
had
is,
the
is
diehard.
just shivering.
If she's listening, she's steaming. She's like, I got the special poison gyoza. I mean, the special treated gyoza for you next Extra Life stream. Like, she's gonna kill me. But she's gonna be like, by the way, what are you allergic to? You know, which it's like she's gonna try and kill me.
That's when you lie and say bacon. It's like, I'm allergic to bacon. Bacon gyoza? That sounds kind of good, though. Anyway.
But that's like that summarizes like what the Mass Effect, because that's how you get Andromeda. Be it the people writing it or the people that still were playing it at that point. That's how you get Andromeda.
I did not want to have sex with PB. That's for sure.
Somebody did, but that's a digression. Sony State of Play. And speaking of
State of mid.
Speaking of wanting to do it with non-human characters in Goodbye Volcano High. Oh my
That
goodness.
dude, it was so weird to see it on there because I'm like, really? Is there hype for this game?
When I saw
Where?
that, I realized that it's like, is Sony's marketing strategy really based off of people that spend too much time on Twitter?
You know what? I'm gonna go on Twitter and see who's talking about Goodbye Volcano High. In a
Don't do
positive light.
that. That's this is, we've already been, we've discussed it enough on the. Talk about it after the podcast. There you go.
I might have some words.
But that's the thing. Like it says a lot too, though. As much as against our like demographic, how much as not our demographic that game is. It was also one of the only memorable things too, compared to everything else that was shown. Like, evidently, that Humanities game was by the creator of Rez, and it's like Rez was a good.
I mean, it looked okay.
Electronica rhythm game, but I never got into it because it wasn't my kind of music, and I'm not into the huge abstract stuff. Like, honestly, it looked like it was a made for streamers game about like how insane can you go, but it never looked insane. Like, I don't even know what it is supposed to be, so I don't know. So there wasn't a lot that they even really had that looked good until, of course, you get to the Capcom segment. Oh wait, they also had Baldur's Gate 3, but again, this is a game that's been in early access. We know it's been coming. That's not something that you can really make exciting anymore. And then you have, again, Capcom. And at this point, it's like, man, when you guys aren't relying on Square Enix, you're relying on Capcom. Good job closing all your Japanese studios, huh? Like,
yeah.
Good job, Sony. Like, what did it do? But that's the thing. Like, because that's if it wasn't going to be Capcom, it was going to be Final Fantasy 16 or something, because they are relying so hard on their third parties right now. Street Fighter 6, yeah, looks good. We got some great reveals there, for characters. Resident Evil 4 remake, yeah, looking really good. But guess what I'm going to be doing? Playing those on my Xbox because I don't have a
Yep.
PS5 and I don't care to get one. I'm surprised they didn't immediately announce that the Resident Evil 4 demo was going to be PlayStation exclusive, because that's just how Sony rolls right now. And
Which I won't play anyway because I don't need to play a demo for the game that I'm going to buy. I'm good.
I mean, I usually like to play it as just like I just want to get a taste, and then it ruins
I don't need a
everything else
taste.
for me.
I don't want to taste. I want the whole thing. Tired of getting blue balled.
um, maybe a Dead Space remake replay will buy me some time, but the thing is that the closer is 15 minutes of Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, which is also going to be on Xbox and PC, and I can just play it on any of those platforms instead. So
It's probably gonna have like kind of like with I'm gonna say it, kind of like with Hogwarts Legacy. There's a PlayStation exclusive mission or quest in that game, but it's on all platforms. It's probably gonna do something similar with the Suicide Squad game, which, by the way, Suicide Squad doesn't look terrible.
No,
It's unfortunate that it's live service. Honestly,
well, I say it's live service E, and that's the thing. Like, this isn't having to do with because people were predicting a lot of microtransactions, other things. I think they are. This was designed with that in mind, but they're pulling a Gotham Knights. But unlike Gotham Knights, the gameplay looks good.
Yeah. Well, I say live service because they mentioned Battle Pass. They said that there was going to be a Battle Pass. So
okay,
so
there will be
and that
stuff
right
like
there
that.
gave me pause, and I'm like, because like I'm playing Call of Duty right now, and I'm having a blast with that game when it doesn't crash because there's an update and it's forcing me to download it. Um, like I'm enjoying it, but I paid $70 for that game, and it's like, the battle pass, it lasts like 60 days or something, and it's always like, oh, you can only play as this character, and it's all cosmetic. You can only play as this cosmetic character when you buy the battle pass, and I'm just like, that is so scummy that you have this out, like, you have seasons that you want us to pay for, and you're hiding these unlocks behind some FOMO garbage. It's really, really scummy. I like I'm happy to be playing the game, but it's because of things like that it doesn't deserve to be a full price game. So I'm getting kind of sick of that, and I'm like, it's just unfortunate that there's not been any pushback on it. But I think this is just what happens with Call of Duty, because like when I was waiting in line to get the Modern Warfare 2019 game, when I was waiting in line for that game to drop, there were people in line with me playing Call of Duty Mobile, and I'm like, "What are you doing? Like,
Yikes.
what are you doing? This is worse. This is worse than like wearing the T-shirt of the band that you're at the concert to see. Like, this is the same thing, except I know you're pumping more money into this.
It all well, no. What it conveys is an addiction, if anything. And I don't say that lightly, because that's the thing. Like, if you are in line for this game, and you are playing the lesser mobile version of it, you have a problem.
Yeah, like I like. Well, I have a love-hate relationship with Call of Duty. There's I have very much a love-hate relationship with it, but. Dude, I can't imagine myself, and I know that there's going to be some people that are going to be playing Diablo Immortal while they're waiting in line to get Diablo 4. Like, it's like, dude, this. I'm calling y'all out, all right? I know everyone who does this is actually listening to this right now. Everyone, stop it. Stop it.
I legit don't know if there's anyone that's actually looking forward to Diablo 4 to listen. Even when they listen to the VOD of it, I have no idea if there's anyone that would be listening to this that actually plays Blizzard games anymore. Maybe Overwatch, maybe, but No, it's
Yeah,
that's the
yeah,
thing with
it's a very strange state.
that's the thing like with Suicide Squad. It looks like it's going to be fun, but I want to spend $70 on it?
I definitely don't. You know, I think this is a game that I will, because I feel like there's going to be what I was seeing. I was happy with. You know, I was, well, not happy with. I wasn't excited, but I was like, okay, this looks like a good game. This looks like a potentially really fun game. Because like I see all the, like the zip zooming around and
Oh
the
yeah,
mature nature, the good guys actually being the bad guys. Like there's they were clearly having some fun putting this game together, and part of me, like I mentioned this before, part of me was getting Saints Row 4 vibes from that. And Saints Row 4 is a
it's
blast to play.
this definitely looks well, as you said it before, like so long ago. This looks more Saints Row than the new Saints Row.
Yeah, it does.
So I think, and it also depends on who you can get together to play, right?
Yeah,
And can you get everyone together on the same system?
that's another thing.
That's what's
It
actually
like
the biggest frustration right now. Is it feels
mhm.
like more than any other generation. Like again, that's the thing. Like the 360, everyone was on 360. Why? Because PS3 looked like that much of a mistake.
Yeah.
Everyone was on
And it was
PS4.
$600 when it came out, and you could
Yeah,
get a 360 for 400 that came with a hard drive and a headset and a controller and Xbox Live for a bit. Like people were willing to pay for Xbox Live, and like rather than get Sony, which eventually would kind of pay for itself. You wouldn't need to pay for online with Sony,
well,
but
you got the PS Plus is what you got, and
well,
you
that
weren't paying
came
for
down.
online, but you were
That
paying.
came way later though.
Yes,
Because PS3, like the PS Plus, really like that came in like maybe 2010, 2011. I want to say it was
it
pretty
came
late
in
into
late.
it.
It came in late, and it was one of the reasons that I was ready to get the PS3 because it allowed me to play certain games without having to buy them.
Yeah,
And it also justified because eventually, because that's the thing, you needed PS Plus to play online. Was that with the PS4 though? Maybe
with the PS4,
that might
you
have been with the
needed
PS4. Yeah,
with PS4 you needed PS Plus to play online, and it came with some games, and that was like I was used to that with the 360, so I was like, okay, whatever, I'll
but
do it here.
now that's the shame of it. Like we're now at that point, and it's like the PS2 was, right? The PS2 was not the best console that released. The GameCube was technically better. Actually, yeah, like
Yeah,
I still remember
the GameCube was better, and the Xbox was the best.
Metal Arms glitch in the system. I remember they had screenshots of all three versions somewhere, and they were like GameCube, Xbox looks pretty much the same, runs pretty much the
Yeah,
same, both good. PlayStation 2, it looks like garbage. Like
yeah.
the PS2 version was like garbage because it wasn't that powerful. Meanwhile, I remember people asking, "Oh, are you going to bring Doom 3 to PS2?" No, like no.
No way in hell. And
Half
it
Life
wasn't going to
2,
go to GameCube
no.
either because the disc space was too small.
Yeah. So it ended up going. Now, granted, they modified it. You didn't have like the big open Mars areas, but yeah, I played Doom 3 on my original Xbox. I played Half Life 2 on my original Xbox. That was a good system, but that's the thing. The
I forgot
PS2.
that Half-Life 2 was on the original Xbox.
Yep.
How did that run?
I mean, to me, it ran pretty well. It definitely, when the Orange Box came out, I could tell that the Orange Box looked better, but it was actually it worked pretty well.
That's
Um,
funny. I
it's
mean, I
fun.
know that there were some original Xbox games like Halo 2 out like could actually output in HD. Um if you had the cables in the
The
TV for it.
component cables, yeah, that
Yep.
was well to an extent. So could the GameCube. You could get component cables for the GameCube. I think you could get component cables for all of them. But
There was actually like a digital out on the first run of GameCubes. Actually I don't know how long that lasted, but I'm sure you remember back when you were working at GameStop way back in the day, you guys were selling GameCubes for less than GameCube games at one point. Um, like the GameCube, I remember going into a GameStop, you could buy one for $50. Like
I do not remember that.
nuts.
But it depends. I
Oh, I do.
My last year working there was 2003.
That might have been that might have been a little bit before then. Actually, I don't know. I want to say around the time Resident Evil 4 came out, I know that some people were like, "Yeah, just like I bought a GameCube and Resident Evil 4 for $100."
That was 24. 2004. Sorry.
Yeah, it had to have been. Which, by the way, I have to point out. And this was a specific thing that I did. So I did end up going to GameStop and pre-ordering Resident Evil 4, and it is from the same exact GameStop where I bought the original when I was 15 with the money that I made working at McDonald's. Like the same exact store, and it's kind of surreal to think about. I was 15, dude. It was
I haven't been to the
almost
store that
20
I
years
worked
ago.
at in so long. Heck, I walked into my first GameStop for the first time in years. I feel like just the other day because I don't know. I was checking out a new market. I was checking out a new plaza. I was seeing what they had at the plaza.
Hmm.
I just got my hair cut. I was like, let's see what they got around here. I was like, oh, there's a GameStop. I'm gonna walk into GameStop, and it's like, dang, there's a lot of non-video game merchandise in here. Like
You
just
know, it's weird because the GameStop that I pre-ordered Resident Evil 4 from, I'm not. Part of me wonders if they're going to close it down or something because it's very bare bones. There's like maybe four little displays with non-video game stuff, and all the walls have like the biggest games there. You have some consoles behind the counters, and you got accessories, and that's like kind of it. It's kind of a throwback in a way, and it has me a bit concerned for that store because like I have friends that work at them. Like I'm on first name basis with like just about every GameStop around here because I'm a pathetic weirdo. Um, and like
dude, no, I understand that actually. The thing is, I'd probably still go to GameStops if it weren't for the fact that every time I've gone in, well, firstly, the age gap is increasing. So if I go in there,
it
then
is.
everyone working there is going to be like 20 and I'm 37. And it's like, hi, all you fellow gamers.
Well, the dude that was
What's the
definitely there
gaming?
when I pre-ordered was easily our age, around our age. So that was definitely
But
different. I'm used to the younger people.
that's the thing, like going into a GameStop and trying to actually have a conversation with the employees. It used to be, and that's the thing when I was working there, it was just, it's what we did. But that was
Yeah.
also because like one of the things that got me the job there, because my position was supposed to be game advisor. So, I'm talking about on my last job, it's like, yeah, during downtime, I'd usually play my Game Boy or something and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, oh, so you play video games when you have the chance. Tell me about a bunch of games you play. And because I had a variety of games I played, it's like, all right, good stuff. And because what are they looking for? They're looking for someone that knows the product.
Right.
Now they're looking for someone that sells the product, which is two different things.
Yeah. I think they've gotten better about it, but I think that also might just be this area, you know. Um,
It wasn't a
because
bad
I
area. I remember the one GameStop in that area wasn't a bad one to stop into and try and chat with the people. But that's the thing,
yeah,
like I missed that in general about certain stores. Like if I go to a GameStop, I want to be able to talk with the employees there about video games.
yeah, same.
And
I used to do it all the time.
like because sometimes it's like you want to get out of the house and you just want to chat, and especially when you're an adult, it's like I have so little social opportunities these days.
So,
So
did you hear about what GameStop was trying to do and then COVID hit?
they try a lot of things and then COVID hit.
Well, what they were actually trying to do was change the business strategy of GameStop and the purpose of each store to turn it into more of like a lounge. You come in, you can go in like almost like you would like with a car. You go in, like try out a game, like actually like they'll just pop it in a console, you'll play it for a bit, and then you can talk to the clerks and whatnot. But also be a place to like kind of sit down and chill and like snack and stuff. Um, that was something that they were trying to do. Make it like a place where people are encouraged to stick around for a while because when you do that, they're also probably going to be more encouraged to buy something before they go. So they were gonna do that, and they were working on implementing, and then the pandemic hit.
That's actually kind of a shit. I'd have to look up and see if that was actually the case because I
No,
know
I was actually talking
Reggie.
with like he wasn't a GM, but like the an old friend of mine. He no longer works at GameStop. Like he was big enough, like he was important enough to GameStop to actually go to like gaming conferences. He met Hideo Kojima. Like he was he was becoming kind of a big deal at GameStop, and then he was like, "See ya, better opportunities."
Yeah,
So
I'll still stick it in citation needed, but
yeah, you
that's
should look into it because that was a thing that they were throwing around, and I think there was a lot of room for that.
well, a lot of room, but also a lot of risk because
Yeah.
around here, the idea it's like the net cafe kind of a thing in Japan, right? There's not
Hmm.
as much of a market over here, and I know a bunch of places that have tried things like that. You got to be very careful in the locations that you try something like an idea like that.
Yeah.
And especially on the East Coast where we are, it's like the odds of that succeeding and making money are lower and lower. Like, as much as I dislike the West Coast, it does draw enough of a tech industry kind of crowd that I could see something like that working more easily over there versus over here. Maybe in the cities it would work, but in the
I
suburbs, less so.
I think you're right in like the whole cities aspect. Because I do think of it this way. Um, there's a tabletop and card game store near me, and they also sell miniatures and whatnot. They have a room in the back where people will post up their tabletop stuff, and they will actually like play like D&D and stuff back there, or card games and stuff. I think there's a market, but they also sell all kinds of stuff there too. So it's like I think there is a market for that for gaming, but say if something breaks, it's going to be more expensive to take care of that than it would be like a card game that has some stuff spilled on it, right? Like the the replacement is going to be way lower in cost. So I think that's another thing to consider. But
Well,
I
the
think
thing
there
is,
is room for it.
you're going to have to do something like charge people's time,
Hmm.
or and also charge for things like basically you're going to need to make a coffee shop, but with more space and specialized towards video games.
They'll have to set things up kind of like I remember hearing this way back in the day, so I don't know if this is true or not. But McDonald's back in the day, they arranged their like seating areas in such a way that it was uncomfortable, so people would be discouraged to stay there for long periods of time. If they did something like that with GameStop, then people would probably be like, "Okay, we'll chill here for a bit, play a little game. Oh, my back hurts now. I'll buy this game and leave."
I don't know. It would be hey, if they experimented with that, I might give it a try. But again, like my area, I feel like I'm a 37-year-old man, and everyone's in the college from the college, and it's just
I
weirdos and freaks, and
mean, it
which
is.
is me of all people saying that too. Um, but the I mean, yeah, it would be interesting, but we've gotten way off track.
Yeah, we
Um,
have.
I
We,
mean,
we
I
were
guess
roasting the state of play
we
still.
were. Well, that's the thing. Like, I think what's very disappointing. There's a couple things disappointing, right? If Sony's not going to make a really stupid mistake, I want them to at least be a good competitor.
Yeah.
And right now they're not because they are relying. And like, if I would swear they had nothing, except I know they got Marvel Spider-Man 2 coming out this year. But are
Yeah,
they
and they also have
really
Final Fantasy 16.
that they bought the exclusivity for? That's what makes me angry about that.
Yeah, I'm not gonna play it anyway because Final Fantasy 15 was so mid.
Like I 16 is a different story, but no, like for me it's like if you're not going to stink and buy Square Enix, then just let them be third party. Stop playing this stinking game, right? And
Yeah.
that's the thing that gets me again. Like it's the hypocrisy of it too, where like stinking. They're spending more time flying all over the place to convince Europe and everyone else not to let the Activision deal go through, just so they could still have Call of Duty, even though. And that's the thing, like, dude, I am actually wondering if that feature parity deal is a desperate move with Nintendo because how can you have feature parity with the Nintendo Switch right now? That deal's gotta be with the knowledge that there's another Switch coming. There is no way the current Switch is going to be on parity with current Switch. There's no way.
Dude, when Microsoft had said that there was going to be a 10-year deal for Call of Duty on Nintendo, I was like, "Excuse me?" Starting when? On what hardware?
Yeah, because
Or do you mean that you're going to take the ones that were on the 360 and maybe the PS4 and like, put them on Switch? Because honestly, I'd be kind of down with that. If I could get Black Ops 2 on the Switch, that would be pretty dank.
I mean, that'd still
Because
be cool. Yeah, being able to play
that's
all
that's
those
still my
games.
favorite one.
You could put Modern Warfare Remastered on the stinking Switch, easy.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not easy, but you could still get it on there. But that's the thing. Like, you could have these different. You. That's the thing. It's like Microsoft is showing, and again, like they're like, oh, by the way, our game's on GeForce now. Like they're basically, in some ways, you could even say sabotaging themselves to get this deal. In a lot of
Yeah.
ways, again, it's like this is where I think people, and we've discussed this so many times, but it's like, is Microsoft a better boss than Bobby Kotick? Right now, yes. And that's what's got people's
Right now.
hopes right now. But, time is a circle.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. Like, meanwhile, you got Sony, and it's like, okay, what are you guys doing though? And again, it's like they're not going to let us have feature parity. You just spent the last console generation having exclusive content.
Yeah. That's why I bought the PS4 over the Xbox, was mainly the exclusive content and the lack of a Kinect.
Well, that's the thing. For me, it was the lack of a Connect. And it really, again, it's like I said, like, first, Sony made a stupid enough move and made everyone get an Xbox 360. Then the Microsoft made a stupid enough move that everyone got the PS4. Unfortunately, even this state of play, again, when it comes to the games they're showcasing and the lack of real variety, it gives me the sense that Sony doesn't have a good strategy going forward.
Actually,
I don't.
I'm gonna bring up something. Because I felt like there was enough variety, but like, what were these games that were being showcased? Because like these all, like, they were putting a lot of focus on these games that normally Nintendo would put on like their little sizzle reel, where they just like, it's like, okay, this is coming out, this is coming out, this is coming out. And
Sizzle reel or the actual indie direct?
Yeah, it was so odd, because like this state of play didn't make any sense. Like it was carried by Capcom. It's like that meme that I showed you. Like it's like Capcom's back is
it was
broken.
From that clip from Invader Zim. That's not a meme.
It is now. But like Capcom really carried that, and it's not even exclusive to PlayStation. Like,
exactly.
What are they doing, dude?
And Final Fantasy
it is
16,
unfortunate.
Final Fantasy 16 is going to be carrying them until Spider-Man 2 comes out. Because that's the thing. The only thing they've got this year is Spider-Man 2. And again, if we look at, Microsoft was lacking first parties for a year and a half.
Yeah.
But now they're going into this year with a well spread out paced lineup, which is how Nintendo operates. Nintendo has a steady number of games spread throughout the year, whereas what has Sony got? And you know what the problem is? What we really know that they've got? 8 more stinking live service games behind us. Oh, they had Destiny. I forgot. They also had Destiny. Which
Destiny VR.
Not even. Just expansions coming. Ooh.
Yeah. Oh boy, I care so much.
Oh my goodness.
It was like, really bad.
I think that's what makes me really upset. It's like if Microsoft, because right now my chosen console is Xbox. Because Sony's doing a lot of stuff I don't like. If Microsoft were losing to a better competitor, I'd be fine. But aside from the occasional first party game, that's the thing, the occasional. Because I still don't think most of Sony's first parties are up to the snuff that people give them credit for. But this is also just the plight of being the actual enthusiast about things versus normies coming in and invading the space. Because that's what it is. It's like it's the kind of people
I don't think it's
that
necessarily
watch TV.
normies invading the space. I think it's
is, but it's been happening for like 30 years now, man. It started in the 90s, but it's the mainstreamification of this stuff, right? And some of it wasn't actually that great to begin with. Let's be honest. Like comic books, right? They were marked for a long time as a geek and nerd thing. Comic books are soap operas with people with incredible abilities, but they're still soap operas. They go on forever. People
Yeah.
die, then they come back to life. It's like that joke from Stinkin' The Simpsons, right? It's like, I thought you were dead. I was. Um, it's that's comic books. Comic books were always ridiculous and were not always the greatest. They occasionally had really good writing and occasionally had really good stories. Like, even though I technically don't think the Infinity Gauntlet War from the comics was actually that good of a story, the writing was darn good. Like, if you read that writing of comics and then you went and read Modern Marvel, you'd be like, what the heck happened? And the
Well,
answer
see
is they
here.
hired webcomic writers. Except
Well,
Chris
I think
Hastings was actually good. Chris Hastings
I
was
think the
good.
big thing with gaming nowadays, and I'm starting to notice a trend that's going away from this, um, is that uh, they're like developers are trying to make games like bigger than they really ought to be, and they're losing the plot on the most important thing about a game being fun. You know, like I have not touched God of War Ragnarok in like a month because I'm getting bored with it, and I can't believe I'm saying this about God of War. That I'm getting bored with God of War, and it's because they're trying to tell these big, grandiose, complex stories. A friend of mine told me that now we have the technology to tell stories, and I'm like, no, fun above everything. Because I can always excuse a game with a bad story as long as it's fun to play. Case in
Dude,
point,
not even that. Not even that. Not even
name a
that.
Devil May Cry that isn't the second one.
Not only that, though. Dude, story. Right. 1997 or 1998 Final Fantasy Tactics. I bring this up every time. Because back then, I played this game and I was like, this game is so good it beats a bunch of actual, like, top of the line fantasy novels.
Yeah.
The story is that good. It's like that's always the first game that comes to mind when people talk about like this overrated mainstream piece of crap has one of the best stories in video games ever. It's like Final Fantasy Tactics was like it does so much. It does so much. And I think this is what I ranted the one time when Steve when I was losing my cool really badly. Because he was saying something about like the past and whatever, and it's like Final Fantasy Tactics has class warfare going on and it's not just class warfare. It's well thought out. It's a war that ran for multiple decades happened, and afterwards the peasants were given nothing. The nobles got deeds, they got land, they got all kinds of titles, but the peasants got nothing. They were poor and destitute, which leads to a rebellion, which leads to a civil war, which leads to, oh wait, now we have all this like church corruption, but made fantastical with like we have these zodiac stones that are meant to be divine, but it actually is from hell. And like as a Christian, I really should not condone this, but it is a story where Jesus Christ was actually the devil. Not literally Jesus Christ. Then it
Also,
would be
Injustice, where
blasphemy.
Superman's the bad guy.
You say crap like that on purpose.
Yeah, I'm
But
just saying, Superman is way more compelling as a villain um than a hero. I'm talking
um,
about Superman. I'm not talking about our Lord and Savior.
but no, it's like, and that's the thing. Like Japanese creator, they're not very connected with religion, and most of their
Right.
experience is a very specific church that doesn't have the greatest history. Therefore, um, but that's the thing. It's like and the greatest thing is at the very center of it is two friends, one
Mhm.
noble, one from a more commoner line. The noble is the one that's pure of heart. It's the commoner that's like, screw it. I've been screwed. I've been screwed over so much in my life. I'm going to start playing the game, and I'm going to play it better than anyone else. And it's this off. It's like this heartbreaking. These guys were so close. They were best friends, but now they have to be enemies. They're only allies, but that's because even the protagonist, because of his good heart, is used by his former friend. Like, dude, there is so much that happens in Final Fantasy Tactics, and people are like, oh, well, no, man, we can tell stories like we never could before. F you!
I mean,
Like, come on, man.
I'm,
This
I'm
game's story was great. Read a book if you want to know it. Like, come on, read a real book. Because I know, I mean, we're talking about Wizard Magic Hat game. Like,
yeah. Let's talk about Hogwarts Legacy.
let's not. Because I mean, again, you want to talk about things that could, well, because I got into a lot of discussion with my brother because I don't mind the books, but it is kind of absurd their popularity, especially like, oh man, never
Books
mind. Let's
needed their
not talk about
Pokemon. I'll just put it to. I'll just say it that way. Like,
the books needed their Pokemon. What?
because Pokemon is like a huge phenomenon, but like books, especially around that time, like they weren't so big, you know. Like
Mm.
I
Our
and that's the way I
generation,
look at it.
our generation was one where there was a big rejection towards books, and I really do think part of it is how schools approached it. I mean, that's the
I
thing.
would
Like,
agree.
you and Zach are not the only people I know that almost pridefully declare that you don't read, and that hurts me so much.
I
Um, it hurts me and it
mean,
makes me angry. Like, it's both. Like,
well, see, here's my thing about it. Like when I was growing up, my mom, up until the Nintendo Wii and Wii Sports happened, my mom did not like video games. She hated them. Um, she thought they were a complete waste of time. I was doing mindless things when, when really you break it down. Like it took family therapy. All right, it took our therapist to tell her that there's no harm in this hobby. If he enjoys them, what's the problem with it? Um, and after she listened to her, like she did start seeing that I was, healthy. I had some. I probably do have like. I'm not joking here. I might actually have some.
oh,
There
Discord's
there
died.
was, yeah, there was a bit of like a just the way I behaved as a child was a bit different. I was brighter than some kids, but at the same time, like I had difficulty staying on task, and ADD was definitely a thing. Not ADHD, but like my attention was easily taken away. But there was something about gaming, about video games, and it's because you're constantly performing the scientific method on the fly. Even like you're doing it subconsciously. Something as simple as you playing Mario and moving to the right, and then there's a pit. Like there is a surprising amount of thought that goes into I see thing, I need to jump over it. I have been jumping a lot and I kind of have an understanding of my limits, so I'm gonna do this and that and this. There's a surprising amount of thought for each tiny little action that you do when it comes to gaming. And you know uh, so
Yep.
my mom tried to push books on me because she didn't realize that. So she was like, I'm gonna get you the Harry Potter trilogy because it was only the three books at the time. And I'm like, okay, I'll read it. Oh, she started with Animorphs. I remember that. She tried to get me Animorphs books. Remember that garbage? Remember
Ooh.
Animorphs, dude?
Dude, I did not. I remember my friends reading them, and I remember first I looked at the covers and was like, "This looks terrible."
Because they were terrible. They sucked. I don't care what anyone says.
No, I'm
There are
saying
people that have nostalgia.
this is the early days of Photoshop. Actually, that's the thing. Like the biggest thing
I
that
think this is
aged.
pre-Photoshop. I think this
Like,
was kid pics.
oh gosh, you know what? It's like, no, I'm gonna Google it right now. Part of the nice thing is my brother liked reading books, and this really helped for me. But because like he read good stuff, and so I would once in a while read what he was reading. I never really read what the schools recommended. I stopped reading like quote unquote age appropriate things when oh god I was still in middle school, man.
I was more interested
But
in like basic
oh,
animal
you gotta
and
be kidding
insect
me.
biology. Like those are like the books that I gravitated towards when I was a kid. Like I would go to the library and grab like a book that detailed puppies, and it would talk about like their like behavior patterns of different dogs and stuff. I was much more interested in that, but probably because they had pictures of dogs in them. I'm like, oh, dogs are adorable.
Huh. So
um,
here's the thing, like, you want a good book cover. Let's move it over to the center. And this is one of my favorite fantasy series as well. The first book of it. Like, boom, right on the stream. The first book of the Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn, which, there you go. Name of a series, Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn. Boom. Automatically, like, interest. The book cover is this sad-looking kid with, I thought it was a child when I was young. It's a troll, dwarfish kind of a person, based very much on Inuits and stuff. Arrow in his gut being carried. It's like, your name is Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn of your series, and it's like this somber attitude imagery. Like, that's how you get someone that's like, man, what is this book? What goes on in here? And dude, it honestly, that cover captures a lot of the tone. Like, it's not, it's and it's funny because it's like this series helped inspire George R. R. Martin with Game of Thrones, but it's like, nah, man, Game of Thrones is way too soap opera.
whereas
Like,
this
this,
was more drama, I guess, like just something a lot more dramatic and fantastical.
there's the dramatic. It's because the thing is, this is very much inspired by Tolkien, but instead of trying to do what Tolkien did, like the way my brother says it is, he went back to the same inspirations as Tolkien, and he drew out something very different. Heck, I mean, again, the name's the Dragon Bone Chair. That's the throne. The throne is made out of dragon bones. And then Game of Thrones, what is the throne made out of? You know, swords melted down. So
Hmm.
you get clear inspiration right there. But no, it's like, this is a book that I read when I was in college, and that's the thing too. Like, I started reading the Harry Potter books at some point in college. I was like, all right, fine. Like, the girl that I like loves the series. I'm going to start reading it. I'm going to see what's the big deal. And then, like, between books 5 and 6, I was like, all right, I'm going to start reading a bunch of other stuff. And I already read books. I read Michael Crichton's Jurassic Park. I read The Lost World.
I
I
think
read
I own that.
Sphere.
Yeah, I own that somewhere actually.
Sphere is a good book. But then it's like, I read what else did I read a bunch of the Dragonlance books. I read a whole series. I forget. It's hard to separate some of what I read in high school versus what I read in college. But yeah, college is where, I read the Dragon Bone Chair. I read the Deathgate Cycle. I read Ringworld for the first time. I read Starship Troopers for the first time. I tried to read The Moon is a Harsh Mistress for the first time. I couldn't finish that one. It's funny because people hate and I can understand certain reasons why, but people hate Heinlein, and one of the reasons is because of Starship Troopers. And it's like, yeah, but it's like, the funny thing about Starship Troopers is people are like, oh yeah, it's super fast, just blah blah blah. It's like, dude, read The Moon is the Harsh Mistress, and it's how to hold a rebellion in space, to the point that they are throwing chunks of the moon down at Earth. The miners are throwing chunks of the moon at the wealthy people on Earth. Like,
Yeah,
that's crazy. But it's like, I read
yeah.
that. I read Snow Crash for the first time. Like, I read so many books, and then, like, the 6th book of Harry Potter comes out, and I'm like reading the first chapter, and I just have this moment where I'm like, man, J.K. Rowling's a bad writer. And I tried to explain this to my friends, and they were all like, dude, no, you're crazy. No. And I'm like, okay, look. Storytelling, characters, fine. Yeah, she's actually pretty good. Her prose
World
is
building, I think
terrible.
she's good at it too.
No.
I would say she's good at it. I don't. But again, I'm only saying this as a on
No,
the sidelines.
but here's the thing. She could be. The problem is, and this is one of the, again, here's one of the eternal issues that you'll always run into with Harry Potter, because it started as a children's book and then it aged upwards. All the things that you can just pass, like rub off that, okay, whatever, it's for kids. You can't just say it's for kids anymore once it's for older
Well, no.
kids, and therefore there's a lot of stuff that just doesn't make sense. And
And see,
also, it's
I
so
technically stopped at the
limited.
fourth book. Well, no, I didn't stop. I stopped following after the fourth book. All right, and like when it comes to world building, the things up through then I thought were solid and understandable. You know, they're like it didn't beat you over the head with like, oh, this is how everything works. You know, it didn't. It left enough
It paints
to
the
the imagination.
picture of a fun world, like a
Exactly.
magical. Like you can see how you read this book and it's like, ooh, it's a wistful magical adventure. But it's the problem is once especially you start getting into their government, it's like, dude, this makes absolutely no sense.
Yeah, I would agree with that. But
That's
when
the
it really
real
started
problem.
to like meld with like the real world, you know, I was like I was far less interested. But at the same time, like I'm just straight up not a Harry Potter fan. I've never liked Harry Potter. I the only reason why I even cared in the past was because I was in a relationship with a girl who absolutely adored it. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna be supportive. And honestly, as far as everything else that this girl liked, Harry Potter was the least offensive thing.
Oh my goodness.
I hate Tokyo Drift. Anyway,
Oh wow. Wait, oh wait, the Fast and the Furious movie?
oh god, I watched that for one reason and one reason only, and it was for her. And I wished I didn't. I like, and I know it only gets worse because I saw Fast Eight, and that's one of the like. That video I showed you, the dude playing Resident Evil Village, like in VR, like where that
Oh
video
god.
just cuts off. I wanted to do that.
Oh god.
That movie sucks. Anyway, um,
It's funny because I actually do enjoy that. Well, I enjoy chunks of that franchise.
I
Tokyo
I
Drift I
didn't.
actually like. I do like Tokyo Drift. I like it better than the first movie. But the best one is the fifth one. It's never that good ever again.
I'll
Never.
take your
But
word for
it
it because
is
like
you got to be ready for just stupidity. Like you are not watching a smart series. You are watching I mean, dude, it's like can you okay, like I'm not going to be you got to
we have
understand,
gone off
man.
the rails.
You watch professional wrestling. You got to understand to an extent, right? I mean,
Listen,
because I get it. Wrestling isn't as stupid as people like to make it out to be, but at the same time,
oh, it can be very stupid.
some of those storylines are stinking dumb. Like,
Yeah, like it, especially when it's man, especially when it's one of those storylines where it's like, oh, these two guys are having a series of wrestling matches because they're fighting over a woman. Those are my favorite. Those are my favorite.
I bet those age well.
No, they don't. They're always trash,
That's the
and
joke.
nobody likes them.
That's the
Um,
joke.
but at the same time, I like in wrestling when like the only time you are told as an audience member as a watcher that you are stupid is when the guy you're not supposed to like, the heel, calls you stupid. Whereas Fast 8 called me and whoever was watching it stupid because there was this dumb subplot where whoever Vin Diesel's character is, I forgot his name, doesn't matter. Um, you know, they're like, oh, Vin Diesel is like, he's doing some bad stuff in the background. Except, no, he's not. He's actually a good guy. He's actually a
Dude,
good guy the whole time.
dude, if you had
It
followed the
takes time,
series, you knew what was happening. If you felt like you
dude.
watched the trailer and it's like, why is Vin going against the family? Because it's all family. Family. It's that row of dudes dressed up as him like family. Family. Family.
But Chris,
That
they
image
spend
would be
they
frightening
spent
if it weren't so
5
funny.
minutes. They spent 5 minutes explaining that to you in Fast 8.
Because who do you think watches those movies?
Nobody. It doesn't matter how dumb you are. You don't need that. You don't need it.
Oh my goodness.
I was like, I hate this movie. The best part about it was the World War Z cars, and that happens for like 10 minutes, and it's
Here's
gone.
the thing: 8 was better than 7. That's what I can give it.
I guess.
And I know a lot
Paul
of people
Walker
love.
didn't die for this, man. This is awful.
The funny thing is, like a lot of people, I think give 7 more credit because of Paul Walker dying during the filming of it, and that is a tragedy. It really
It
is.
is.
Paul Walker ain't Heath Ledger, so 7 they did what they could, but at the same time, the guy that directed it, and I forget what else he directed. I think he was the first director of Saw. He's not a great director. He's definitely not a good action director. And they got him to do like Aquaman or whatever. Like, what the heck? Like, this guy's actually not a very good director. But you know, he must be a great director for hire. But it's like 7 was not very good. But again, like what if you're going to watch any okay, here's the problem. Because if you're going to watch any Fast and the Furious movie, the 5th one is the best one. Because its stupidity is the most acceptable. And it's just a fun heist movie for the most part. It's an ensemble cast and it's a heist movie. And these things are actually very entertaining.
Listen,
It works. And
call
yet.
me when they do
And
when they
yet.
do Fast and the Furious Mario Edition. I'll watch that. It's like heists happening in Mario Kart.
Is
Give me that.
Is that what I gotta practice now? I gotta spend every night practicing my Vin Diesel Mario, so when we play the Mario Kart Monday, I'm coming in like,
I do it for family.
come on,
Woohoo!
Luigi. Come on, Luigi. It's all about the family. Woohoo! Something
Bing
like,
bing woohoo yippee.
oh, so racist.
No, that's what every Mario game sounds like. I
I
swear.
know. It's only
Bing
because
bing woohoo yippee.
we're Italian that they're able to get away with it.
You're Italian. I'm not.
And yeah.
I think there's already a Mario Kart video like this. I mean, yep. Yeah. No, yeah. That was in that was in Robot Chicken. Actually,
I'm not
that was an
surprised.
actual Robot Chicken skit. Like they actually crossed over Mario Kart with Fast and the Furious. I forgot about that. I think they even got Vin Diesel to voice himself.
Oh my goodness.
It was actually it was a really funny bit. It was better than any of the Fast and the Furious movies.
I mean, the
And it
thing
was
is,
better than
again,
Mario Kart Super Circuit.
I'm never going to argue those movies are good, though. Like, this is one of those things that again, the 5th one is the best one, but it's the best one in that it's the one that's the least stupid. But
I would rather watch Snakes on a Plane, and I've never seen that.
I heard that's actually boring. But
I believe it.
no, that is the issue, though. Like, you have to, because you technically need the first movie and the 4th movie for context to make the 5th one work the best. I've never seen it. Okay, I saw parts of the second one on TV, but it had stuff that bothered me, right? Like, I don't care if they're all bad guys. The idea of being in some kind of a street race where a dude gets sucked in under the tires of a truck and is just like completely crushed. Like, nah, man, that's like, put that on the list of things I am, like, ways I'm afraid to die. Like, you're never going to get me to never watch a movie if it's got a way that I'm legitimately afraid to die. Like, this is a horrible kind of death that I do not want to experience in life.
Okay.
Well, it's so
I have a
callous
question for
about
you.
it too. I think that's part of it. It's like they're so callous about it.
So,
Like,
Chris, I have a question for you.
uh-oh.
This is going to be this is a different topic, but I want to know your burning opinion on this because this is the actually most psychotic content I have ever seen on the internet.
Oh no.
Um, so
What makes you think I've seen any psychotic content on the internet? I'm boring. I
Because you're
watch
friends with me.
2-hour dissertations of like video games, man.
Well, I mean, I do that too, but
By the
I
good
need to.
people.
Okay, so how crazy is it that some freak out there? I'm gonna call him a freak because that's what he is.
Oh no.
Some freak out there has been has been using like audio and footage of actual car accidents and has been recreating them 1-to-1 with the audio in Roblox.
That's the kind of thing that really ought to get you on FBI's watch list if FBI was watching the people they needed to be watching.
Dude, there are multiple videos of this that
This is
have
why Roblox needs to just be
like,
completely taken away, and
dude,
this is why I get so angry when I find out someone lets their kid just freely roam, like, or do anything on the
yeah.
internet. Kids should
No,
not be on
this
the
is definitely
internet
like,
because parents
where's
don't
your
know what they're
parents?
doing. Like, oh my
Yeah.
god.
Like, oh, they're just playing Roblox. Dude, they're taking car accidents and reproducing them in Roblox 1 to 1.
Research what your kid's doing.
Dude,
Uh-huh.
it is like, dude, this
Oh,
this is the most insane stuff I have ever seen on the internet. I'm just completely in awe. Okay, I've seen, and you know me, I've seen some things. I've seen some stuff. But
that's
oh no.
that's the worst part is that's probably not even the most depraved thing going on there.
No, it's not the most depraved, but the fact of the matter is that
Oh,
the
man.
like there was actual suffering,
Yes, that's what makes it terrible.
and that's what makes it like that is what makes it completely messed up. And so when I was exposed to that, I went to bed. Like I was like, that's it. I'm going to sleep. I'm done with the day. But I have told other people about it because I'm just like, dude, this not the most insane stuff you've ever seen? Um, I don't need to link you to it, but you can just
No,
imagine
no,
because, like,
please do not. I do not want
yeah,
to.
it is. It is
I don't even want
absolutely
to see a
insane.
thumbnail of whatever this stuff is. Oh my gosh.
So, anyone out there, if you
Oh,
got kids, do some parenting. Do some parenting.
yes, please. Don't let them
Yeah.
on Roblox. There are pedophiles on Roblox.
Ooh, okay. Yeah, we're yep, 0 to 60. Um,
That's why I said that. Dude, like,
it's
there's.
true. It's true. Like, dude, I've roamed around VR chat and I've heard some shit, and
Oh.
yeah, and that's why I walk around as a sexual consent
There's another
form
book
now.
that I read. There's another book, Otherland. Read the first book, City of Golden Shadow. This book was written in the 90s. Like, everyone talks about Snow Crash as being so prophetic of the internet. Read Otherland, read City of Golden Shadow. Read about this virtual city she goes into and some of the well, this is a virtual nightclub that she has to sneak into to figure
Oh,
out what
so
happened to her little
IMVU.
brother. Maybe.
Yeah, there's a game called
I know
IMVU,
what it
and
is.
woo,
I just don't know what happens in it. But no, dude, trust me.
that's
Like,
exactly what you think.
the thing is, like, there's okay. I'm gonna just give part of it away, right? Like, because I've seen enough of the internet that it's like when I read this book and the woman goes into this virtual, because this thing, every floor, quote unquote, is a different kind of environment. It's a different kind of, like, something different's going on. And one of them she goes on to is like it's like this weird gentleman's club, and it's all men gathered around a stage, but instead of like a singer or a dancer, it's basically a naked woman is getting carved up.
Ah,
And everything about how it's being done is this weird and unsettling. But I'm reading this and I'm like, this guy wrote this in the 90s, and yet it feels so stinking precise to what you can find on the internet. Like, even if it's not real, just the stuff that people are doing in fiction, in communities and tagging and stuff like that. Like, holy crap. Like, this book, same author as Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn, Tad Williams.
woo.
Um, it's like I've read that. I'm like, jeez,
I
this
mean,
guy gets it. This guy, this is the internet. This is what it's going to be. Oh
it
my
was
goodness.
like like it's funny because that's a story that I think is really, you know, one that you can easily tell no matter what time period, because the internet is very much like, what if there was a world that you could go to that was lawless, and there you go.
The internet, yeah.
It's the internet, and there's, woo, like, there are detriments to the internet just being more centralized now. Like there are a handful of websites that now most people go to. When back in the day, it was like it was fun talking to people and being like, "Hey, what's your favorite website?" And like this one dude was like, "Oh, I go to ieatcrayons.com," and I'm like,
What?
"Great, thanks." That was an actual website. It had dude, it was the worst thing.
What I end up I actually tell people today, it's like, hey, back in the early days of the internet, there was a website that tricked people into believing that there was a Velcro shortage because of corn. There not being enough corn, and Velcro was made of corn. And people were convinced because of this website that Velcro was made of corn. And it's like it's like just because it's on the internet doesn't mean you can believe it. It's just as true now as it was then. More people doesn't legitimize everything you see and hear.
It's true. Yep. Do you remember when the PETA website was being cyber squatted? Which, if you don't know what cyber squatting is, that's when you buy a domain to sit on it, so that eventually whoever like would actually want to buy, like with the whole point of like forcing the brand that would want to be associated with that would like force like
Massive payout.
they'll give you money for it. Do you remember that?
I do not.
So, PETA.com was bought by a fake organization called People Eating Tasty Animals.
I remember that. Okay, I remember that part. I remember that.
Yeah,
Because they made
It was
T-shirts.
great. Yeah, it was great because that was something that my friends and I discovered on our own, and then like I took a media class
You know
in
what?
college, and we talked about that.
You know what though? You actually restored a little bit of faith in my humanity. My humanity.
Did I?
Not the rest of the world's, but because it's like sometimes I feel like the internet has just made the world a worse place. At the same time, PETA has always existed. PETA has always been ridiculous and terrible. PETA existed before the internet.
Super Tanuki suit. Remember that?
Therefore, as much as people seem to be really extremist jerkheads, people have always been that way. Because PETA existed.
Yeah.
PETA existed and PETA existed. They've always been that way. There's a relief in that. Like, it's funny because I think age itself naturally leads us towards the conclusion that things are always getting worse. And the funny thing is, usually it's reading the Bible and the Old Testament, especially, that's like, wait a minute, people have always been terrible, horrible people.
Yeah.
And therefore it's a little reassuring. But no, now it's something like, oh wow, PETA has always existed. Therefore, people have always been irrational, ridiculous beings that like have these. I could see people considering me to be like a hypocrite, considering I just admitted to being a Christian reading the Bible. But it's like people have always been these irrational, extremist beings that have believed in the most illogical stuff, and it's like, man, there's a relief in that to me. To know that this is how humanity has always been. It's just the technology has changed.
And it's more in your face now. So
that is like, the problem, because the algorithm pushes it. And that's the thing that, see, that's, oh my goodness. I'm sitting here like 15 minutes ago, I was like, we have to stop this podcast. But
speaking of algorithms.
Well, that's the thing. Like, that is actually the worst thing that's ever happened to the internet too, because once upon a time, before the internet especially, like, yeah, marketing was a big thing, but there was also that sense of self-discovery or word of mouth.
Mm-hmm.
The algorithm has actually made word of mouth harder in a lot of cases. Some things can get picked up. But if Hi-Fi Rush was not shadow dropped by Microsoft, would that have gotten the word of mouth? It was only because it was Microsoft that I think it got the word of mouth that it did. And got the exposure that it did. But there's a lot of stuff. Like, again, I see all kinds of indies get noticed. Solstice is barely talked about. I played that last year, dude. I mean, I've talked about it a lot with you. That game is super polished. It does Devil May Cry style combat well, but does it in its own way. That game never got picked up by the algorithm or the greater word of mouth. It's a great
Nah.
game, and it seems to have who has played it likes it, but it has not gotten picked up by the algorithm. And so stuff that should be given more of a chance doesn't get more of a chance. And this is the thing that gets me too. Like my brother finds more stuff on YouTube than I do. But part of that is because part of that is also just the thumbnail naming game. I can't
Oh
trust
god.
almost
So
any
great.
video I see. Something about every video I see makes me skeptical to click it. And a lot of times it's something like the title or this or that. And sometimes it's like, oh, there can't be any way that they're gonna have nothing but stupid opinions making a like 2 hour video. And in the first 5 minutes they said some of the dumbest stuff I've ever heard. It's
And then
like
they have to rattle off about their sponsorship
it's,
with Raycon.
it's Raid Shadow Legends. It's your boy, Raid Shadow Legends.
Dude, all right. Have you seen? All right. Do you know the YouTuber? I think he was also on Screw Attack and that guy with the glasses. Do you know the gamer from Mars?
I am not familiar.
Okay. Well, his thumbnails are incredible, absolutely incredible. There's a Twitter page that's just called YouTube thumbnails, and it just picks out the most ridiculous ones. And nearly nearly all of the gamer from Mars was actually a really good like documentary style guy, but his thumbnails are so funny because like he did one on, of course, Chris Chan, and
God,
his
why?
this thumbnail is just like a picture of Chris Chan, and it's got Sonichu and Rosechu next to him, and just the text, "They called him gay."
Oh my god. And then a robot on Twitch right now is like, what word did they just say?
He not
Oh my
dude
goodness.
he's been pretty successful on YouTube, but that like his thumbnails are all like that. It's just like they did like it's like an off like a thing that doesn't really matter. He just like brings it up to the forefront and is like, this is why they did the terrible thing. I love it.
Oh
I
my
love it.
goodness.
But he does do good documentaries. But that being said, like the algorithm does indeed work in mysterious ways because yeah, I'm gonna bring this up. 8 years ago, I uploaded a Tomodachi Life video. Okay, 8 years ago, I uploaded this because it was a funny video that I saw on Tumblr, and I was like, haha, this is really funny. I bet it's gonna disappear at some point, and I think I was right. And so I downloaded it and I uploaded it to my YouTube channel, and I said in the description that it's not my video. Fast forward to like this past December, and the YouTube algorithm has picked it up, and right now like this video is sitting at give me a moment. This video is sitting at 93,000 views.
For no reason whatsoever.
I don't understand. And even like while I was streaming this past Tuesday, the original guy who actually uploaded the video to Tumblr commented on it saying, "Oh wow, somebody they were like, holy crap, somebody uploaded my video." And I was like, "Dude, I was hoping this would happen, but I thought it would be a shot in the dark. So here, I'm gonna pin your comment. Thanks." Like,
Meanwhile,
algorithms are weird, man.
meanwhile, this video I spent like 2 months on, maybe a little more technically. Still processing. YouTube doesn't want to post it.
God. Do you have to
Why?
restart the process?
I might have to. I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna sleep on it because I have it scheduled to publish tomorrow morning. Because I actually wrote up a blog post to go along with it. That's the worst part. So, and if they, because again, like the top advice that you're given is there's a send feedback button, and you click
Oh,
it, you highlight things, you show how it's taking 8 million years, and they all are like it's like 30 minutes later, it's fixed. Evidently, it's like that triggers a human being to look at it and figure out what little thing. Nope, hasn't worked with me and Team YouTube. I replied to them.
they need a ticketing system so bad, but I know that they would be completely overwhelmed. Like they're not equipped for it.
I don't know what they are equipped for. Whatever Google is wasting their money on being evil. Whatever money went to
Chat
Google
GPT.
Stadia, whatever money went to Google Stadia could have gone to making YouTube a better platform.
Instead, they're just gonna put more money into Chat GPT. Artificial intelligence. Let's go.
Yeah, we could have more videos of Biden and Trump playing video games together and cussing at each
Hey, those are
other.
funny.
We don't get enough of that in real life. No. Well,
Those videos are fun.
they
I
don't
like them.
they don't actually play video games in real life, so that would actually make it
I wish
better.
they did.
I gotta bite my tongue. I gotta bite my tongue. But this was not supposed to be an episode that hit almost 2 hours, but it did. Is this our first bad episode of 2023? It might be, but
I mean, we had some good banter.
hopefully somebody here, somebody listening had a good time. So
I'm
hopefully we
hoping
hit
so.
some good conversation topics. Hopefully there's something to sift through, but it was a way to end the night. Nah,
Yeah,
and
Roblox car accidents. That was the big topic.
hopefully, oh god, hopefully next time we'll have plenty of stuff because I've been playing, like a Dragon Ishin. Played it for 8 hours. Finished 4 chapters. It's pretty good so far. Wind Dancer is the superior fighting style. Um, and Theater
Which
of
one's
the
that one?
Final
Is that
Bar
the
Line.
Kenny Omega one? No, Kenny Omega is the. I think it's actually called the one.
Oh,
With
that's a card.
Mabel.
That's a card.
Ah,
It's
okay.
not an actual fighting style. That's more like a summon.
Okay.
But yeah, I haven't gotten to that part where they introduce the cards yet. But
Yeah,
hey,
I'm waiting for that game to become available for me because I did pre-order it, but it was like I don't know, shipping is weird, and it's fine because I've got other stuff to play. Like I literally just loaded up Atomic Hearts tonight, so I'm gonna try that out and see what it's like.
well, good luck with
It's on
that.
Game Pass.
I saw a review of it and I it looks like it could be interesting, but it looks like it'll also just not be my. It looks like the combat. It looks like it'll be too annoying for me to justify.
Yeah, we'll see. We shall see.
So then Steve can come in and tell us about Xenoblade Chronicles 3, and also we can have yet another podcast where we talk too much about Elden Ring.
Yup. Yup. This is the Elden Ring cast. You might as well just change the name.
Elden Ring Pocket. No, it doesn't sound as good.
And then just have the theme song playing the entire time. In fact, we'll just walk away and it'll just be the theme
Just
song.
let
playing.
it be looping for 2 hours.
Yeah.
I'd get a heck of a lot more hits that way. Load it to YouTube, and I get like I overnight have like 900,000 views.
And then get hit with a copyright claim.
Yep. All right. That'll be enough from us tonight. Go check out www.ramblepack64.com and youtube.com/ramblepack64. Hopefully, you'll be able to find my video. And there's also, I do have a Ramblepack64 Extras channel where I'm now uploading the YouTube, the podcast videos to YouTube. Check over there. It might be harder to find, but again, you go to youtube.com/ramblepack64. I have a link on that page. So,
Nice.
all right. Yeah, thank
stuff.
you, everyone, for listening in. I know this isn't one of the best episodes. This is our first filler
I had a good time.
episode. It's our filler episode of the year.
Yeah, we're in the filler arc. Even though
so,
it's like over next week.
So hopefully next time we'll have more to talk about. But Grim Guardians Demon Purge. We should actually probably play that.
Yo! Do I want to buy that on Switch or PC?
I'm going to get it on Switch just for in the event we have a chance to play it on the same, couch co-op. Because it doesn't have online. Yay! That was a great move.
I mean, Inti Creates ain't the best. I love them.
They're not the biggest either, so I understand. It's just disappointing. And who knows?
Yeah,
maybe,
I guess I'll buy it like right now.
Maybe I'll force people to hear about my feelings towards the latest season of Agretzko, because holy crap, seasons 4 and 5 are actually not pulling punches when it comes to the socio-political situations of Japan,
Ooh.
which is like of all the series to go there, not the one I expected. So, yeah. All right, right before we hit 2 hours officially. Um, yeah, everybody have a good night. Thanks for joining in, basking. Thanks for all the lurkers, because there are some.
And we got some
Uh,
lurkers.
there is a Cell Omega. There is an Asuna. Um,
Hi.
Asuna's been quiet because after all of my talk against Mass Effect fans, she's going to want to kill me, wring my neck. So, all right,
You're gonna download
everybody,
a fist.
you wouldn't download a car, but you'll download this fist. All right, everybody have a good night.
Later.